In the absence of the chair, the meeting will be chaired by Councillor Harcourt. We are quora and therefore we can proceed with the hearing. Emmanuel, I just need you to confirm that's all okay from a legal perspective.
Yes, that's fine. We are quorum.
Thank you. Over to you, Councillor Harcourt.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. So can I just begin by welcoming everybody to tonight's licensing subcommittee meeting? My name's Councillor Wesley Harcourt, and I'm going to be chairing this evening's meeting in the absence of the chair, who has been unavoidably detained. She can't make it at the last minute. We are actually quorate, as you just probably may have heard from our legal representative, so everything's fine if everybody's happy to go ahead with just the two of us. Okay, the meeting is being broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. So, can I just go through a few housekeeping points to begin with? Firstly, if everybody keep their microphones muted unless you're actually speaking, can I ask everybody to keep their cameras turned on when you are at the hearing? So throughout the meeting, if it's possible to have everybody's camera on. The chat function has been disabled. If anybody wishes to add any additional information other than their allotted time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so they may not miss. I'd also ask members to keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. If everybody's okay with that, let's move on to the first item, which is declarations of interests. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? I don't.
Not from me, Chair.
Thank you. So item 3 is the licensing application for the ground floor 156 Munster Road, London W6 5RA. Can I begin by asking everybody to introduce themselves as I call on you? We should have with us Manish Kumar Bhavsha.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
And you are?
Yeah, I am the husband of the applicant, Digisha Bhavsar.
Okay,
so I'll be representing her.
Okay, thank you very much. Adrian Overton.
Sorry, Chair, I couldn't get to mute there. Yes, present. Thank you. Good evening.
And your position?
Licensing Service Manager.
Thank you. Lorna McKenna.
Present, Chair, Licensing Compliance Officer.
Emmanuel Ponza.
Present, Chair, Council Solicitor.
And we have two members of the public objecting. We have Tim Fullwood.
Yes, I'm a resident in Felden Street.
Could I ask you to keep your camera on if that's possible, or is there a problem?
I thought I had my camera on, but it doesn't seem to be operating. I apologise for that.
Okay, if you can't get it, I've just got a blank screen. If that's not possible, then don't worry. And secondly, we have Georgie Stewart.
Hello, also a resident at Felden Street and part of the Street Residents Group.
And I've got one other resident listed as wanting to attend, Robin Adder, but there's not seen them as yet. Okay, they can join in later if they turn up. The procedure, before we consider the application today, I just want to explain the procedure the committee is going to follow. Well, we're going to hear from the following, beginning with the licensing officer, who's going to introduce the application. After that, the objectors will have a chance to make their case, and finally, the applicant. Each party can address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Now, following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or any other person present at the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. Committee will then retire for deliberations, and upon our return, I'll announce the committee's decision. So if everybody's happy with that, can I turn to the presenting officer and ask Lorna McKenna to introduce the application?
Yes, thank you, Chair. On the 8th of January 2024, Mrs. Digisha Bhavsar, the applicant, submitted an application for a new premises licence to be granted in respect of the premises known as Ground Floor 156 Munster Road, London, SW6 5RA. The applicant has applied for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol off the premises only and proposes to operate as a grocery store and off licence. The licensable activities being sought are for the sale of alcohol off the premises only, Mondays to Saturdays between the hours of 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sundays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. The proposed opening hours of the premises will be Mondays to Saturdays between the hours of 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sundays between the hours of 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. The applicant had not proposed any additional steps to promote the 4 licensing objectives. However, on the 2nd of February 2024, following correspondence with the police licensing team, the applicant has agreed to add 8 additional conditions to the licence if granted. The application has been advertised in alignment with the requirements of the Licensing Act, and during the consultation period, the licensing section received 20 representations from local residents objecting to the licence application being granted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. Therefore, I'm going to move to the objectors, beginning with Tim Fullwood, purely because my list is alphabetical, and ask you, you were apparently also representing Sarah Shillingford, and therefore, because you are representing yourself and one other person, you have 5 minutes for each, making 10 minutes in total. So off you go.
Well, I think I've set out my concerns in the emails that we have sent, which are primarily that the situation of the premises is very close to a residential area. It's also very close to a school. And there are concerns amongst the residents about the impact that having licensed premises on so close to this is not in the interests of the residents or the school. I've got something else that I'd just like to add that I hadn't seen before, which came out of the agenda, and it's really in the form of a question. There was a map included, which was included within the agenda, which showed what appeared to be, I think, premises which were supposed to be relevant to the application. But there are clearly a number of places that are missing. So we already have licensed premises at the corner of Munster Road and Fulham Road at Tesco's. And there is another pub opposite the Durrell Arms. We are getting and seeing already, there isn't anything we can do about it. The pub, the Durrell Arms, has been there for a very long time, but we get a lot of activity around our street from people at the time around closing time from the pub. And our view is, or my view is that, and my wife's view is that by putting in another licensed premises, which allowing people to drink either before or after opening or closing times, is just asking for even more trouble, likely to cause more antisocial behaviour in the area, and also cause waste. And you know, the person who's seeking the application has said that the waste isn't their duty because it's outside of their premises, but the waste wouldn't be there if they weren't there. I have a final question, which is there is within the documents, which I hadn't seen before, which relates to the existing premises. That the existing premises were granted hours between 9:30 in the morning and 9:30 in the evening for an unlicensed premises as a cafe and bakery. This application not only brings in licensing for the sale of alcohol, but it also significantly extends the hours of business. As you can see, that would, by an hour and a half after the current time range, so that it's open till 11 o'clock, which creates additional disruption. I mean, this is a residential area. It's right on by the end of a street. There is there are people in these houses who are going to be disrupted by having this open till 11 o'clock at night, assuming that the licensing goes through, which I would prefer not to happen at all. But I also don't think that the hours should be extended beyond what is already there for whatever use of the premises. The other thing that doesn't seem to appear on the map is at the end of Swift Street, we currently have a barrier in place, which has been there for some time, which acts as a to stop through traffic doing a rat run through to Munster Road. I don't know how long that's been there. Georgie Stewart will have a better idea than me, but it's been there for as long as we've been here, and it's over 10 years. And that is used as a barrier which has the fire brigade have the access to move or remove. And I think it's likely that, we're going to see more parked vehicles in the area. And as a result of having the off license on the corner of this important junction with the thoroughfare. And I just think that it's inappropriate to have licensed premises there. And I think unnecessary. We have enough licensed premises within the area already. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Over to you, Georgie Stewart. You have you're also representing Claudine Lambot. So therefore you too have 10 minutes as well, if you need to use all 10 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try not to. I think Tim has made a lot of the same points, so I'll try not to repeat similar questions or similar points. But I think, it has been a bakery for many years, the existing premises. And obviously that's a very different type of business with a much shorter day, as Tim referred to. It is within 30 yards, 30 metres maybe, of a primary school. We have the emergency barrier, which has certainly been there as long as I've been in the street, which is 30 years. So I can add to Tim's 10. And that is a problem if there are, deliveries holding up the barrier, if there's, people drinking on that kind of street corner. It is often used, which was mentioned in some of the notes, or has been used in the past as a sort of getaway kind of trap for criminals as well, who try and speed through the barrier so the police can't follow them. And I do think litter, which I know, again, as Tim mentioned, was sort of pushed back on by the applicant, is a real issue. I probably twice a week report dumped litter right outside the current premises. It is used as a littering place, partly again perhaps because of the barrier, and with the type of business that's being proposed, and if people pick up alcohol and drink it outside the premises, we suspect that would only get worse. And finally, just to reinforce the point, it is a residential area, many children, with school the next day. Generally the area, with the exception of the Durrell, which is obviously on the main road, is very quiet post 9:30. I would say you don't see many people on the street, and therefore having the lateness of the hour of the application seems at odds with the kind of rest of the location. So I think Tim's mentioned everything else, so thank you for the time.
Okay, many thanks. The third resident, Robin Adder, has he arrived? No. Okay, well, in which case I'm going to move over to Manish Kumar Bhavsha. And do you have, therefore, what have we got? 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes maximum, because the two objectors, together have had 10 minutes each. So therefore you have up to 20 minutes to present your case. So over to you.
Yeah. I completely understand the points made by the local residents. I really appreciate that and consider those points. But the main idea, the main focus, we have for running this business is to give the local residents the conveniency. And selling of the alcohol is not our main point. And the hours which we mentioned on the notice, it doesn't mean that we'll be focusing on selling the alcohol straight from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. That's not the point at all. That those hours were just mentioned for us to have the hours, the trading hours, starting from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. or 10 p.m., whatever that is. But we understand that there is a school nearby, so we are into this business since last 11 years or so, and we know how to run this kind of business. We are not new in this trade at all. I'm currently having this kind of business, based in Fulham, and there are few schools and pubs nearby, and it's completely in the residential area. And there is a community park nearby. So we are completely aware of all the requirements which are needed to be followed by the local council for the safeguard of the local people and the local community. And if you see at I know you have mentioned about the negative points, but there are a few positive points as well, which would benefit you as well, because our main focus is to stock the convenience items, not just the alcohol, like stationeries, pet food, soft drinks, confectionaries, groceries, and that all, which would ideally help you at the last minute in kind of emergencies, so there is a point that would benefit you as well. So I would leave it up to the council what they have to decide. Yeah, thanks very much.
Sorry, my fault. I was muted. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we're going to move then, therefore, to questions. Councillor Stanton, do you have any questions?
Thank you, everybody. Yes, I have probably very few questions, but I do have a couple. So I'm going to ask those now. I may, when you've asked your questions, jump back in. But my first question is, I think, to licensing, probably to Adrian Overton, and it's about the notice of planning consent, which is in the papers. Now, I should point out to those present that planning and licensing licenses and consents don't need to be aligned. Adrian, I'm sure, will explain this better than I am now. But I do want to understand just the background and the current status of the planning, specifically in regards to the hours, what impact that might have on operations should a license be granted. So Adrian, if you could just maybe clarify to those here who may not understand the legislation, what the differences are between planning and licensing, but also if you could then let me know what the situation is specifically here.
Of course, yeah, no problem at all, Councillor. So licensing and planning are different pieces of legislation and should be treated separately in isolation. So a license could be granted that is contrary to planning permission that's in place at the premises. And in this case, it looks like the planning permission at the premises is restrictive, and it only allows activities to take place between 9:30 in the morning and 9:30 in the evening, which are obviously less and more restrictive than the times that the applicants applied for. And as I said, I mean, that doesn't mean to say that the members couldn't grant the license this evening. It's just that they would have a license and they would need to make sure that they're adhering to the planning permission that's in place. And then in future, the applicant may wish to decide to extend their planning permission to align with their license. But yes, they are separate. But the planning officer has helpfully just given us a bit of a heads up and then explained what the planning situation is so that members are aware and that everybody else is aware as well.
Thank you very much.
No
Thank you. Mr. Bavsar, can I...
Councillor Stanton, before you go on to the next question, can I just clarify something further with that? Because that statement from the planning also says that if this has reverted to its previous use category, i.e. a shop or whatever, that there is no planning control over the hours. I'm not quite sure what the situation is, because obviously this is no longer a bakery stroke cafe. It's going to be a shop, a grocery shop with an off-license facility.
Yes. I still think from what I understand, and forgive me, I'm not a planning officer, but that 0.5 would mean that that that's a restriction overall, and that would mean that the premises couldn't operate outside of those times. I don't know whether the applicant can clarify that, whether he knows more about the planning permission than we might at this stage. I'm not sure.
I see. Okay.
If I can just add to that, the planning consent actually specifically excludes. Where's the wording now? I can't find. What page is it? 44
and 45, I think.
45. Yeah. It says, and shall not be used as a public house, wine bar, takeaway, or for any other purpose than a restaurant, which would appear to specifically exclude the business model that the applicant is applying for. So if I could just put that to one side and go to the applicant, Mr. Babsar, as my colleague has said, you may well have more information about this than we do. So can you please can you tell us what you do know that we might not know?
Yeah, but I've seen few points mentioned on the planning permission with reference to this property. It says over there that this premises is not allowed to sell any licensed products, means like alcohol and that whole stuff, which are consumed within the premises. So it's not allowed to be a public house like a pub or a restaurant serving alcohol inside the premises. That's what I understand it, and it mentions over there. But as an off-license store, the alcohol would be consumed outside the premises. I think that's allowed according to the provision.
Again, and this is notwithstanding the separation of licensing and planning, which we mustn't forget, but I think it is an important point. The planning consent specifically says the premises may be used only as a restaurant.
Yeah.
Should we put this to one side, because it is wholly irrelevant in a sense what the planning says, because we're here to decide a licensing matter, not a planning matter. But I would caution you to speak to planning about this to ensure, should a license be granted, that you're acting under the given consent. Thank you. Right, so moving swiftly on, my second question was that a number of the residents who put in objections to the store made references to deliveries, and I think some mentioned scooters. Can you confirm, I think I'm right in saying in the letter that you provided, that this is intended to be a walk-in store only, and you have no intention whatsoever of providing deliveries?
That's correct, sir. That's correct. Yeah.
In which case, my final question is, and I know you touched on it in your opening representation, can you just briefly outline a little bit more about the other store that you run in? I think it's Balham.
It's in Balham.
Just in terms of the location, the times that you're opening, who it is that you have running it, and just so we have an understanding of your business model, assuming that you're going to be using a similar business model here.
Yeah, it's an off-license store which is currently trading since 2013, and I'm running on my staff, and it's based on Cavendish Road. It's just by the public small community park, and it's been surrounded by a few primary schools and residential. It's completely in the residential area. So it's the trading times are 10 to 10, 10 in the morning till 10 in the night, 7 days a week.
And how many staff, I suppose this is really for the Munster Road property, how many staff would you have on duty at any one time, and who would they be?
I mean, on this premises
On
or
the new one, on the one that we're talking about tonight?
one staff, one staff. Looking at the space of the property, it only needs one staff.
Okay, because I understand that your wife, who's
Yes.
would it be your wife that would actually be manning the store?
Yeah, most probably her or me, either of them.
Okay, fine. So you're kind of hands-on.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I think, thank you very much. I think for now that's it for me. I might say I may come up with some more, but I think that's it for now.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. Firstly, this is going to be to the licence department, which is, have we had any representations from the police about any issues in the area, or to do with crime or anything else like that? Because crime is something that's been raised in virtually all the deputations from the residents. I'll ask the same question of them in just a moment.
No, there was no representation from the police, but they did agree to add 8 conditions to the licence, which can be seen in the report, having spoke with the applicant.
Okay, in which case, can I turn to the two residents? Because on a number of the submissions that have been made, there's reference to crime and such like. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what the situation is? Has there been a reduction in crime? And also there's a reference to a private security company, which something I've not come across before.
Tim, shall I start? So yes, we have had a considerable crime in the area, significant house burglary, and also vehicle theft of and from vehicles. As a result, about 3 years ago, might be wrong, the street, Feldon and Swift, who operate as a kind of coordinated group, decided to club together, and we pay for our own street security. About 48 households contribute to the cost, and we have a private security guard in the street patrolling from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Every day, every night of the year. And since we have put that measure in place, we haven't had any house burglaries. We have had one car theft in the last 3 years that was almost immediately recovered. And we've had a couple of minor, stolen headlights, for example. But in comparison to the level of crime that the street faced prior, a very significant reduction. And I think everybody who participates in the scheme, which essentially covers all the street, obviously, whether people participate or not, feel very positive about the impact that it has had, and therefore, I guess, understandably nervous should there be anything that could interrupt, the sort of pre and post. It was really bad before. We used to, on street cameras, have people, obviously people with not good intentions wandering the street from kind of 11 till 4 a.m. And since we've had the security in the street, we don't have any of those issues. I hope that helps answer the question.
Thanks. Anything you'd like to add to that, Mr. Fulwood?
All I was going to say is I agree with everything that Georgie said. The only thing I would add to it is I think you have to understand the geography of the street. It's effectively only really open at one end onto Munster Road because of the blockage at the other end. For many things, that's a very good thing to have, but for crime, it's been an issue because effectively it is so quiet that I think it made it easy for criminals to walk up and down the street and prowl through it. The street as well is I think it's a rare street in this area in that we are predominantly a street with families in it. It's almost entirely houses. There is only one flat in the whole of the two streets. And as a consequence of which, we are very trying to make our community as secure and as safe as possible. And I think that is why you have had so many objections to the license going in there. We know that there are licenses in the area. There are already a number of licensed premises in the area, and also a number of other convenience stores in the area. So for us, I think we can only really see a potential downside as to having a licensed premises on our doorstep.
Okay, thank you. If I can turn to Mr. Bafsa, you obviously, one of the issues that's been raised both tonight and also in the paperwork is the proximity to the school and the sale of alcohol that close to the school. And one of the licensing objectives, obviously, is about protection of children. Can you just tell me what you will have in place to prevent any sales of alcohol? I know that it's a primary school, but nonetheless, what steps you will be taking to prevent any issues around that?
We are practicing the Challenge 25 law, and I'm completely aware of that. We do ask for IDs with all whom we assume that the person is around 16 or 18, or even if it's 20, we ask for the ID. And we have a good practice of finding out if the produced ID is legitimate or not. And that's the main thing. So that's the one way, that's the main way of identifying a person if he's underage or not.
Okay. And finally, have you actually opened your grocery store?
Yeah, I'm trading since last 11 years at Fulham.
No, in the current the Munster Road premises.
No. The premises is currently empty.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if you anything else to come back on, Councillor Stanton? Nothing more from me either. In which case, it's over to Lorna McKenna to sum up. You have 3 minutes to sum up.
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay. In which case, over to to Tim Fullwood. Again, you have twice times 3 minutes to sum up, so 6 minutes.
I don't think I have anything else really to add, just to reinforce the fact that we do not believe that there is the need for this in our area, and we are very concerned about having further licensed premises on our doorstep. And I've heard what Mr. Kumar has had to say, but I still don't see that we've heard anything that has made me feel any more comfortable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Georgie Stewart, finally.
I think all the comments have been made. Thank you. Just reinforce what Tim has to say.
In which case, Mr. Bafsa, you have again 6 minutes to sum up.
No, that's it really. I just wanted to point out these kind of objections made by the local residents, and that I really consider the points which they have made, but I'm working, I have a positive focus in providing a good service to the local community. That's the reason I've chosen the residential area and not being on the high street. I am aware that there are few other similar premises, but those are quite far away than what actually the premises is at the moment, at Munster Road. And I am aware that there is a school nearby, And we have made sure that we practice challenge 25. We check the IDs, and we also safeguard the local people as well. So we'll be practicing this kind of legal requirements while doing the business activity. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. So
Thank you.
what's going to happen now is the committee is going to retire to discuss this and make its decision in a separate meeting room. Excuse me. You're obviously welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee's decision. I don't know how long that's going to take, how long we're going to be deliberating. It may be 15 minutes, it may be half an hour, it may be longer. So, but you're welcome to stay. If you don't want to wait, certainly a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. In the meantime, could I ask members, everybody present, to turn off their video, mute their microphones, and join and we are going to move into the other room for our deliberation. As soon as we're ready to come back, you'll be notified. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Harcourt, if you can turn your camera off.
Are you not staying for this?
Chancellor, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, I think I think everyone's back in the room now.
Well, for some reason, I'm not coming up on the camera.
Do you still have Teams open?
Yeah, I need to get rid of that. It's still not up. Odd. No, don't know what's happening here.
I mean, you can try leaving and rejoining, or I think you can proceed without being on the camera. Just get that confirmation from Emmanuel. Is that correct, Emmanuel? There's no sort of requirement. You're on mute.
Yes,
Oh,
I
there
mean,
you are.
as long as you're
I've arrived by magic.
Thank you. When you're ready, Councillor, you can make the decision.
I'm ready. Is everybody back?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everybody for waiting for the decision. The committee have reached a decision which I'll now read out a summary of for you. And this is the summary decision of the licensing subcommittee for the application for the ground floor 156 Munster Road, London SW6 5RA, the premises. The committee has considered an application for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol off the premises under Licensing Act 2003, the application. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to grant the application in part as follows. The sale of alcohol off the premises only, Mondays to Sundays, 10 a.m. to 2200 hours, i.e. 10 to 10. The following hours of the premises are, the opening hours of the premises are Mondays to Saturdays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2300, Sundays between the hours of 8 a.m. and 2200. The license is subject to any mandatory conditions. The license is subject to the conditions proposed by the police and agreed by the applicant. This license becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for a review of the premises license can be made. A copy of this committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the license, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant or any person who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. So, and that's on the Licensing Committee. So thank you all very much for attending tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Councillor Harcourt, for chairing tonight.
sorry, I seem to be struggling with getting back onto various things. I don't know why. I don't normally have a problem. So that's it then.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for chairing, Councillor Harcourt.
Yeah, I did. I should just say I've had a text from Councillor Lume saying she's ill,
Okay.
and that
Thank
was
you.
the reason why she didn't